We're going to call our meeting to order. June 21st, 2021. We still have those that are signing up for the public hearing and also those that are here for the public comment. So this time we'll have an invocation. If you would, George.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for the day that we've seen. We thank you for protecting us and guiding us and showing us the things that we need to do. And as we come this evening for this meeting of the Pasquotank County Commissioners, we pray, the Lord, that you would bless us and that you would guide and direct us in what we do and what we say, always keeping in mind that we want to do the best for all of the citizens of Pasquotank County. So we pray that you would guide us and direct us so that we will know what we need to do. We thank you for all that are here. We ask that you would bless and keep us all. We thank you, dear Lord, for those that are serving on foreign soil that's protecting our country. We thank you for them. We thank you for their families. We thank you for this country that we live in. And we pray that you will show us that we might be able to live together, work together, and that we might love each other. For we pray and we give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Needs, if you would lead us pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we have amendments to the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have amendments? Okay, Mr. Jordan.
We have several amendments to the agenda. Item 7B, approval of tax releases and refunds. Item 7C, all of the budget amendments. Item 7D, approval of request for occupancy tax. The Finance Committee has recommended approval of a request from the Highway 17 Association for an appropriation of $1,000 for fiscal year 2021 and $1,000 for fiscal year 2021-22, with funds coming from tourism fund. An application for tourism fund will need to be submitted. Item 7E, approval of Pasquotank Camden Emergency Medical Services contract. The Finance Committee has recommended approval of the 3-year contract for provision of emergency medical services to Camden County. Item 7F, approval of lobbyist contract. The Finance Committee has recommended approval of a 2-year contract for lobbyist services with Jones Street Consulting, LLC, at a cost of $30,000 annually. Item 7G, approval of rate reduction for 2009 water bonds. The Finance Committee has recommended approval of the resolution approving a modification agreement and approving and authorizing certain actions in connection with changing the terms of the revenue bond. And item 8H, approval to hire McGill Associates to perform water rate study at a cost of $49,540. These are our amendments to the agenda, and I so recommend.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner.
I'll second, but I think all our letters need to slide one, so I think it should go through I, just because there's a B already on the consent agenda.
7C, D, E, F, and G, and 8H was under new business, is that right? Or is that will be under consent?
All under consent.
All of
H and H and I.
Yeah.
I got another, do we need to vote on that separately? Another amendment? Make a motion that we table item 8B until we can hear the plan for putting together our redistricting working committee or board. I think the wording in that letter is good. I think we're kind of, the very next question we're going to be asked is what is our plan And then we should be able to release a statement like this at the beginning when we're presenting our plan.
Okay, so that would probably be two actions, and again, one you have a delay, one is to add to the agenda. So we'll take,
Yep.
so you need.
I'll second Mr. Jordan's amendments to the consent agenda.
All right, and then we'll back up to yours, to the delay action. All right, we have a motion and a second to the consent agenda to go to add items C through I. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. All right, at this time, Sean, do we make a motion for the?
Make a motion to table item 8B until we can formulate our plan and hear that presentation.
All right, this time you've heard Sean Lavit's recommendation to delay the action of redistricting resolution. Need a second for that? Second from John. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Okay. All right, the agenda's been amended. Madam Clerk, how many do we have to speak this evening? What is the pleasure of the board for a time limit for, that door needs to stay open for public participation? This is all referencing, there's nobody here to speak on the public hearing, right?
Yes.
There's, join this public hearing. Who's here to speak on the public hearing?
Here's public comments.
Public comments, not public
Public
hearings.
hearing.
We have 4 public hearings tonight based on the budget and some text changes. So if the others were public comments, then that's what we have here.
But that's actually on the, we're here on, about the budget.
About the budget?
The budget.
Okay. All right.
And some of the comments.
Just take them as you get to each one.
We'll do it then.
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be fine. All right. So is there a time limit on this?
I'll take it
Additionally,
initially.
2 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes,
That's
okay.
appropriate.
All right, 3 minutes per, and we'll have our attorney keep the time. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll read the first name and the second name, so you'll be up, ready to participate, so it moves along. Okay? This time I'm calling Dorsey Harris, 614 Shoulder Road. Dorsey, the microphone, if you slide that chair, you can walk straight forward. Thank you. And the next person will be, is it C. Balance? Okay, here we go.
Okay, Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners. My name is Dorsey Harris, a founding board member of the League of Women Voters of Northeastern North Carolina. We are an affiliate of the League of Women Voters of the United States and the League of Women Voters of North Carolina, all of which are nonpartisan. The League of Women Voters was officially founded in Chicago in 1920, just 6 months before the 19th Amendment was ratified and women won the right to vote. In the early 1970s, men were invited to join the organization and provided the right to vote. This made the organization more inclusive. The League of Women Voters fully supports, jointly with the Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners, exploring the resolution. I think you're going to reconsider it, so I had to change my wording. Exploring the resolution establishing an open, transparent, and nonpartisan procedure for redistricting. The Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners is one of the first, if not the first county government to support this endeavor. Thank you very much. This is near and dear to my heart since I personally served on a racial gerrymandering trial representing the Albemarle area in federal court in Greensboro, NC. So this has always been near and dear. The League of Women Voters of Northeastern North Carolina is hosting a Fairmats luncheon on July the 24th, 2021 at Canton Memorial Presbyterian Church in Elizabeth City. If you would like to contact us, it's lwvnenc@gmail.com. And I'm here today. I'm not a resident of Pasquotank County anymore, but I'm here today representing the president of the League of Women Voters of Northeastern North Carolina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Balance, and then after that will be June Gibbs. And then Keith Rivers will be after.
Hello, my name is Clifton Balance. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Jordan, Mr. Pryor. And the second thing I want to bring up is the land issue on Pearl Street and around the middle school. I do not believe nothing in me that should be given to the city for a park for no reason. The city has undermined us in many ways. And they continue to undermine us and call y'all names and such whatnots as that. I'm against the Black Lives Matter on the street. If it was all lives matter, I'd have no problem. They protested the statue out here, and we abided by it and asked for it to be removed. This Black Lives Matter on a street that I pay taxes on is against, it offends me. Not because of a black person, but because of what it actually stands for. Black Lives Matter is nothing but a burn, loot, and name. That's all they want to do. Now, if it was for the fellow that was killed, Mr. Brown, then hey, let's go for it. All lives matter. Mr. Brown's lives matter. Your lives matter. Your lives matter. All of us do. So to paint something on a street that county and city pays taxes on is very wrong. It is uncalled for. So in that I asked again, I said, why do we have to move this statue? Scratch it. Forget it. If they can do that, why would we move our statue? Black men fought in that war as well as white men did. And everybody in this room knows that. But white matters, black matters, Mexican, all of us matter. It ain't just about one person. Oh boy, but y'all would have a fit if we went out here, or the city councilmen, 5 of them, would have a fit if we went out here and decided we're going to paint White Lives Matter down Martin Luther King Street. They would have a fit. They would be racist. And we're not asking to do that. We're asking to put all lives matter on it. Now I'm told, I don't know how true it is, because I'm not an educated man, but I'm told because I'm not a city resident, I can't speak in city council. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's not true. But yet they can come speak in here about what we're doing. So we should matter. The city sits inside of the county. The county does not sit inside of the city. So anyway, that's my saying, and there'll be more brought on that once the land issue is brought ahead onto whether what we can actually do with it or not. But as far as the city goes, one more statement on that. I walk, everybody knows I walk 5 to 6 miles a day. And I live in the county, but I come over town and use the sidewalks. The city can't even keep up the sidewalks. Walk around them someday. Walk over there in Waterfront Park. The bricks are maimed up. The city doesn't even keep that up. I go to the senior center for months. For months.
Thank you, Mr.
We've been
Brown.
asking about the lights to be fixed. The city hasn't done that yet either.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
I'm sorry for running over.
Okay, June Gibbs, and then Keith Rivers. Mr. Balance, I think you have your keys.
These are my keys.
That's a microphone for the newscaster, I think. Okay,
Good evening.
good evening.
At last. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. At last. County commissioners, whom we all voted to put in office, decided at last that they would speak to us. I can't believe this. I was born, as the old people say, born and bred here. Moved away, affiliated with the military, moved back here to rear my children where I thought everything was just and fair. Some of you on this county podium or whatever it is were my students, and I was always fair. Color didn't matter. I've been out there almost every day, with the exception of last week, because I was killed, fighting for justice. Then when I tried to call through, I can't get a phone call back. I mean, does that mean because I am black that I'm dangerous? Now, I know there's some of you up here, and I call it like I see it. Some of you just don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up for anything. Some of you don't have anybody to fight with you. And some of you are just mean. I don't care what way you put it. That young man was shot in the back of his head. He has a family that does not know what happened, and you're telling me all we're asking is transparency? Show us what happened. We're not causing to walk in these streets and having the police officers, and I do feel for the city police officers, having to walk around every day to keep us safe. In our town, where all you had to do was shelter. What is the cover up? Come on now. Let's face it. If that shooting was just, if it were just, now come on, I'm as intelligent as the rest of you, and all of you are as intelligent as I am.
That's right.
If there was nothing to hide, you would show the tape. That's all I'm saying, show the tape. Let it all fall where it is. And then you all sit here high, looking low at us. And when, you know how I feel? I can't even reach out to a county commissioner. I can't even bring myself to how to say it. To a city attorney. Do you know how that makes me feel? I wasn't involved in it at all, but I'm gonna fight with it. I have 3 children that I brought back here to rear, productive citizens. And to thought that one of you would attempt to treat one of them this way, it's just unbearable. I'm asking you tonight to go home and think. Pull off your sunshades, pull off your blinders, your everything. Do like I did when I work with children. Do like I do in everyday life. Treat
Thank
people.
you. Thank you for your time. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Gary Davis. And
Greetings. I am Keith Rivers, President of the Pasquotank County Branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Culture. And it is good, as Dr. Gibbs said, to see you all. We've missed your presence. We've missed your presence ever since a black man was shot in the back of the head.
Yes.
You wrote a letter from this board that was not neutral, but in support, and then told everybody else to be patient until the results came back. Well, the autopsy is back, and it said he was shot right there. Right there. And then when we look at this year's budget, we see that there is asking for an increase in the sheriff's budget. That shouldn't even be on the table. On the table. The city police and the city budget, the city police have been out there protecting people that are standing and marching for justice. But yet, when I look out there in the hallway, I see 6 and 7 sheriff's deputies out there. Are they there because we are here? I've been to many county commission meetings, and never have I seen that display of force. We are your constituents. We are the people that you took an oath to serve. But you discontinued meeting in person. You wrote a letter, and that's the last time we've heard from you. Now you have your first meeting, and we go out there in the hallway, and it's 6 and 7 sheriff's deputies. Do we look like the type of people? Have we displayed any actions to show that we have been doing this thing the right way for Andrew Brown? Justice. Justice. The sheriff has clearly, the 3 deputies have clearly violated the deadly force policy. It's 300 if you haven't read it. It's clearly stated that they will move out of the way of the vehicle, and they can't even fire into the vehicle to disable it. That's in Pasquotank Sheriff's policy. It also says in the policy that if one sheriff's deputy sees another sheriff's deputy using unnecessary deadly force, that they are to intercede. Well, isn't it amazing that the so-called deputies that the car was aiming at did not fire? All the deputies did not fire. So evidently, everybody didn't see it the same. So for this county to even consider an increase in the sheriff's budget when you wouldn't even meet with the constituents, we strongly demand that there is no increase in the budget and that we go back and that budget be placed on a public hearing, let everybody see what they're getting paid for.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers.
Thank you.
Terry Davis and then Andrea Ravinsky.
I'm Terry Davis, and I just want to say, don't give the sheriffs any more money. I'd rather you give them less, but definitely don't give them more. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves. I yield the rest of my time to whoever wants.
Excuse me.
You gonna take it?
Andrea
The rest of her
Ravinsky.
time? Okay.
You have 3 minutes, the next person has 3 minutes.
We can't yield time.
And then the next person is James Saunders and then Cheryl Morrison.
I think that it is a little ridiculous of a concept to postulate increasing the sheriff's budget after they kill someone unlawfully. I think it provides an incentive for them to continue to murder people unlawfully, and I think it's ridiculous, ludicrous, and evil, and I yield my time.
Thank you. James Saunders is next, and then Cheryl Morrison, and then Michelle's Suttle, is that right? Sutton, okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
My name is James E. Saunders Jr. On behalf of the Courthouse, no sheriff's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Morrison. And then after Sutton, it would be Mary Whitley, and then Linwood Gallup.
My name is Cheryl Morrison, and I live at 710 Harney Street. I'm up here because I've been wanting to meet with y'all for the longest. I was told that you couldn't talk to us, and that really bothered me because I voted for certain people, and for them to tell me that they can't talk to me really made me mad. But my whole purpose here is, I heard that gentleman say that all lives matter. But no, it doesn't, because you first have to have Black Lives Matter before you can have all lives matter. And the way y'all treated Andrew Brown tells me that it's still the same. It doesn't matter. Black lives don't matter. And the sheriff treated him like he was nothing. And I just want to know, if your son or daughter was shot like that, what would y'all do? Tell me, what would you do? How would you appreciate the fact that no one showing you the film to let you know exactly what happened? And that's all the family is asking for. They asking to see the whole film. And I know all you men up there have children. And not only children, it could also happen to you. Because once you walk out here, you ain't nothing but a black man. Okay? Remember that. Think about it. Okay? You could be riding in a car and get stopped. Because you're black. Now leave.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Whitley.
This is Sutton is next. What you're next?
I'm next, right?
Yeah, you're next. No, I will go with you and then we'll back up to Sutton.
Oh, okay, I'm
All
sorry.
right, go right ahead.
All right. I just want to put in my request, please do not increase the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department budget. I understand several people have resigned, and I realize cost of living increases annually and so forth, but at this point, I personally feel the money would be better served investing in empathy training and education and other things so that we can move forward from all of this. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your job. Thank you for finally agreeing to meet with us in public, and I hope it allows you to realize that we're not, a bunch of rioters or trash or anything like that. My father raised me to hate the sin, not the sinner, to love all of mankind, and I truly do. I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm sure they follow suit. I'm sure all of you follow suit at the end of the day. And I just ask that moving forward, because we do need to relate to one another, we do need to communicate. It's the biggest problem that we have. And I look forward to working with you all, speaking with you more, so that we can make this place better for everyone. We can't fix the world, but we can fix Elizabeth City. We can work on Pasquotank County. And we are all citizens and taxpayers and love it just the same as you do. So I appreciate your time, but please think about it logically. Please think about it from the perspectives that they've given and will give. We just want you to, do some things that are just and fair. I realize everybody is tight in this small community and tight knit in your, institutions and groups and so forth, and I respect all of that, but change needs to come. It is long overdue. It's necessary. It is definitely time. So please work with us in the future on these things, because we all want what's best for everybody and we want things to get better. And furthermore, I know that Andrew had a record, and I've heard this so much, and I see people using God and hiding behind scripture, and we're all on the right side. And I feel like I'm on the right side of justice. And I don't care if someone has a rap sheet 10 pages long. It does not make him more human or less human, because my God said that. And it's just the way that I feel. I'm sure some of you agree, at least to some capacity. We can't change what happened in the past, but we can most certainly build a better future.
There you go.
Thank you.
Jim Gore, is that right? Or Jim Gore? Jim Gore, and then Darlene Piander.
My name is Michael Sutton. I'm one of the regular protesters out here.
Michael Sutton.
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we just wanted to let y'all know that raising the budget, right now would not be a good idea. We're not satisfied with the performance that they are doing right now. So we sure don't give them any money right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next is Linwood Gallup, and Jim Gore, and Darlene Piander. Madam, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Linwood Gallup. I was in the city. I want to start with this fundamental American thought. An American thought from anti-federalists, that government can be corrupt. Let's start with this American thought, that government can be in the wrong, that government will violate people's rights, that government will abuse people. Let's get back to one of the founding thoughts of this nation. Right now, we have been protesting for a little over 60 days. We have not had a redress agreement, violation of our rights. Andrew Brown was killed, shot in the back. Our district attorney cherry-picks the law. He cherry-picks the law to prove his point. He mentioned a Supreme Court case in 1984. He did not mention the Supreme Court case in 1985, Tennessee versus Gardner, that said you cannot shoot a fleeing suspect. Then you have your own policy books that's in violation. The sheriff's own laws and own policy books that are in violation. And still yet everyone looks at us like we're the problem. Like we're the issue. Like we're doing something evil and mean to this nation just to demand for our rights to be implemented. We are demanding for our rights to be respected and implemented. You took an oath to do that. You took an oath to do that by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of North Carolina. And every day you ignore us, you're ignoring our rights. That means you are a criminal too. That means you are a criminal too. We have to get this straight. We're not going to get it straight by us hiding and avoiding one another. It is time for everybody to put their American big boy and big girl pants on, and we sit down and we talk about this issue until we get it right, because we ain't going nowhere. Thank you.
I see you have an NA for the address. You need a record for the clerk, your address.
Are homeless people not allowed to speak?
No problem.
What does that mean?
No, I mean, are you a resident of Elizabeth City? I mean, just something for the record.
Well, I'm just asking.
Just
Can I
asking,
speak?
yeah, you can speak, I'm just asking, you have an NA, that's all.
There's an NA on there, correct? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We okay?
Yeah.
So I look at the budget today, and I see that the sheriff's department is asking for a 200,000 raise. I also looked and I saw that 300,000 of that is going to be going to salary. This seems arrogant. This seems tone deaf. This seems evil. We need to talk about this. These people should not be getting more money at this moment. These people should not be getting more money at any moment, but especially not now. Not after they shot a man in the back of the head. And I can feel the air in my lungs moving from my belly up into my chest because I am angry. I'm angry and I'm tired, and we've been out there every day, and y'all, you haven't been there with us.
Very good.
Tony Panetta, Walter Godfrey, and then Lucille Mallory. Would you like for us to bring in the microphone?
No, I'll make my way. Because of course your courtroom must be handicap accessible, right? My name is Darlene Panetta. I live at 300 Princess Anne Circle in Elizabeth City. I have been here for 18 years. Moved here when my husband was in the strike force and stayed because we had a son to raise and I thought this would be a good place to raise a child. And the utter audacity to murder a man and then come here and ask for money is the most shameful thing I have heard of. Not only should y'all be ashamed of it for even thinking about it, Sheriff Wooten should be ashamed for asking of this. He should be ashamed. He is a disgrace. You come in here telling us, oh, it's only a few bad cops. Well, why is he still wearing a badge? Because he is a murderer. He's an accessory to murder. You know who else is a murderer? Robert Morgan. You know who else is a murderer? Andrew Llewellyn. You know who else is a murderer? Joel Lunsford. Michael Swindle. Stephen Judd. Kenneth Bishop. Daniel Needs. Andrew Womble. Because they are all accessories to murder or murderers themselves. And if you were all good, if you were good people, if you were decent people, you would be out there marching with us. You would be out there marching with, those sheriffs wouldn't be out there trying to look scary. They would have their badges off and be marching with us. Because they would know that taking a man's life, shooting a man in the back of the head, executing a man, is not something to be proud of. And it certainly isn't something you reward with a budget increase. How dare you even put this before us? The audacity. Just shame on you all. Shame on you. If you all go to church, you need to start reading your Bible more. If you call yourself Christian, then you obviously have not read your Bible. Because I don't remember anywhere Jesus talking about it okay to pop a guy in the back of the head. So shame on all of you. And shame on you for being cowards and hiding from us until now. Release the tapes. The whole tapes.
The whole tape.
The full tape.
The full tape.
The real tape.
The real tape.
The unredacted.
The unredacted tape.
All right, we're hearing you loud and clear. Walter Godfrey, Lucille Mallory, and then Julia Aggie Allen.
I'm stuck. I'm all
Good evening to everyone. I stand before you the tears that I share are not because of fear. See, I died when I gave my life to Christ. I have no fear of anything. A man or woman who fears God has no need or reason to fear anything else. I cry because so many people are hurting, and yet we go on with life as though nothing has happened. How can we do that? If your child, your friend, your family, your wife, your husband, any one of your family members is suffering, I would feel just as bad if it was one of my own. And yet, you can pass judgment on someone and go on as though life has not changed. You're not affected. We're all in this world together. The young man said, all lives matter. They do all matter. But we gotta act like all lives matter.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's right.
You're supposed to be representing the people. You can't do what you wanna do. You gotta show some compassion, some empathy, some concern. Just because you're elected as an official, that means the Bible says, thine is the power and the glory. You ain't got no power. When you lay down at night to go to sleep, you don't know whether you're gonna get up or not. Your wife don't know if she's gonna get up or not. Your children don't know whether they're gonna get up or not. Be careful how you treat people.
That's right.
Because one day, every one of us will stand before God and give an account. And the problem is, you have no recourse at that trial. You have no recourse, no backing up, no chance to recant or anything else. I beg you, I plead with you, don't wait till it's too late to do the right thing. I'm not threatened. I believe in Christ. I don't believe in threatening. I don't believe in arguing. I tell my wife, I don't believe in complaining. I'm not going to argue or complain with him.
3
Now,
minutes.
some of them had time that they passed on.
Mr. Godfrey, your 3 minutes is up.
We ceded our time.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the people that,
Everybody's been on 3 minutes.
no, but some of them did step
No,
on.
there's no passing of time. They had a chance to speak 3 minutes, just like you. Thank you.
I yield.
Thank you. Lucille Mallory.
I see you in the judgment box.
Senator Molly Penrod and Angela Brothers. Wow. Okay.
My name is Lucille Mallory. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground are sinking sand. And I stand before you because my heart goes out to a hurt that don't understand why. I stand before you as a black woman, a citizen of Elizabeth City. And there's no justice for our black people of this city. We pay tax. We
We want to be comfortable just like anybody else. And we want to be treated right, just like anybody else. And when you do wrong, it has to be corrected, regardless of who you are. And only right will stand. We can't go home and sleep and wrong is being done to our people as a black person. And I say black people because we have been treated wrong long enough.
Wow, there you go.
That's right.
And it's time for a change. It's time for a change in every situation. In every situation. We've been treated wrong. And do you think it should be shooting a man in the back of the head? Is right what's been going on ever since the world been? They've been shocked and not given and not being brought forth. But this is not going anywhere. This story gonna stand. Because only right will stand.
That's right.
Let's get it right.
That's right.
And let's get it right now. Because only right when you go home, you're gonna rest in your home. Let's get it right. We have time to get it right. Why drag your feet and sit back and do nothing? Run and hide. Time to stop hiding and come forth and do right. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground are sinking sand. And I'm going to stand. I will stand. And I will go forth.
There you go.
And if you want to go with us for right, it's time to make a change. And stop sitting back and won't give more money. It's time for a change. No more.
Julie Allen, Molly Penrod, Angela Brothers Proctor, and Edward Rivers.
Hi, I'm Julia Allen, a supporter of Black Lives Matter and justice for Andrew Brown. Myself and the community that have been in the streets for over 60 days now want to know why increasing the sheriff's department's budget is even in question. They are responsible for executing an unarmed black man because he was scared. He was trying to get away. If he was that much of a danger, then why is the one officer that they are saying had to roll over the hood of his car not one that fired their weapons? Since when do people condone murder, let alone think it's okay to pay sheriffs if you're just going to literally let them get away with murder? They're no longer sheriffs at this point. They're paid murderers. They're paid assassins.
I'm Molly Penrod. I'm not that great at speaking in front of people, and I have a bunch of things to say, so I'm not sure what order they're going to come out, but here we go. I want to start out by saying everyone here knows all lives matter. And we also know that all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. That guy that spoke about the murals isn't here anymore, but I still want to go over a little bit of what he said. Yeah, we would freak out if there was a White Lives Matter mural, because white lives have never been under systematic attack the way that Black lives have. A female mural is a message of equality. That a White Lives Matter mural would be a message of supremacy, which we have enough of. I'm in support of the mural, but I have to say it feels like you're throwing us a bone.
There you go. Speak it.
Because performative
actions like painting something on the ground with no systemic changes being made behind it is placation. That's all that is. And I say that because the reason why I'm even here is proof of that, because I'm here to debate why you guys are increasing a budget for the sheriff's department when it's already 4.3 million. We're already part of program 1033, which allows the sheriffs and the police department to get their weapons straight from the Pentagon. So I see no reason why their budget would be increased. Also, you guys put assassins back on the force. Those, like my companion Julia said, those are no longer sheriffs, they are assassins now. The disciplinary actions that the retraining that they were supposed to have is supposed to be public record. It is not. I haven't heard anything of that, nor do I even know when they would have had time to be retrained between their paid vacation leave and coming back. And I don't know what kind of department, what kind of sheriff's department gets more funding after murdering someone.
There you go.
No repercussions are being had for anyone. What kind of an example is that for not only the judicial system, but for America? You murder someone and get away with it, you're not even punished. You get paid leave and then you're back on the force. That doesn't make any sense to me. They violated Ruben's own policy that he wrote. You're not even supposed to shoot at the cars of a van, or the wheels of a van, of a car. You're not even supposed to shoot at the wheels, and they shot at him, putting their own sheriffs in the unmarked van that was on the street in harm's way while they did it. So their lives don't even matter anymore either. Just confused about that.
Make it make sense.
So, all in all, appreciate the mural, appreciate the permission to paint the street, but we want change, actual change.
There you go. That's they wait. You ask the justice, they give you a holiday.
Right.
Good evening, all. My name is Angela Brothers Proctor, and I would like to start by saying a quote by Martin Luther King: "What happens in the dark will come out in the light." This video, it needs to be released. And as far as the raise for the sheriff's department, it could be put towards better things for Elizabeth City. Example, handicap courtroom. You understand what I'm saying? And with Mr. Balance, I agree. This statue out there, I believe in history. You should not destroy it, but put it in the proper place. Like the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Don't destroy history, because when you destroy history, you're making the younger kids, oh, it never happened. That's like saying the Holocaust never happened, and we know it happened. You understand what I'm saying? And 300, you know, all I have to say, what happens in the dark will come out in the light, and eventually that video will be released. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I start off by saying good evening because from the records or from where you may be thinking is that there's been an angry rise in the city of Elizabeth City. But for 61 days, there have been peaceful protests. But from your account, we are an angry mob who maybe might want to bring violence to you. I have no idea. But that has not occurred in 61 days. But yet, on the night it happened, on the morning that Andrew Brown was executed, we showed up at the city hall to ask for questions. Then we went to the sheriff's department to ask what was going on. No response, no one came out to talk. Only the police chief and the assistant deputy chief of the Elizabeth City Police Department came out to try to talk to approximately about 200 people. But yet they had no control because it was the sheriff's department. because of a lack of communication between our elected officials, you that have name badges here, we just asked for you to come out and talk to us. But you chose not to talk to us. You chose to send a letter from the chairman of this commission, supported by each and every one of you. And it had up there that we support the sheriff's department. But yet, you wouldn't come out to talk to a group of citizens who just had questions to ask. So that way we would see our elected officials, hear them, knowing that we have representation that would at least take our questions back to and be able to give us answers. I was an elected official. People would ask me questions, I would have to go back and bring them answers. That's what we ask of our county commissioners. But yet you can come to our churches, you can come to my house and ask me to support you. But yet when issues such as this that are in our community, that you cannot bring back and just come back and say, wait time, or let things roll. At least we would have had the opportunity to have a dialogue with each and every one of you. Then you chose to close your meeting. And in closing your meeting, then you decide from your county manager to go after the only persons who were bringing up issues that we were talking, that you publicly criticized the city of Elizabeth City council persons, because they were the only ones that had balls to talk to us.
Very good.
To at least hear us, whether they agreed with us or not. But yet y'all chose to look at us as rioters, angry mobs. But yet we have not did anything angry. We've been peaceful. We've articulated today. No one's made any threatening remarks. But yet 7 sheriff officers with bodyguards or body armor was out there, so they were expecting us to come up here and tear up this place? So that's what has been perceived in the community, but yet, this is what community looks like. Right here, look at this. This is what community looks like. You see black, white, the same way when I look at the county commission.
Excuse me, Kurt, your time's up.
My time's up?
Yes, sir. Okay. Sorry about that.
Good guy.
Thank you. At this time, we've had all those that have signed up earlier. We'll move on with our budget.
You need the sheriff.
So at this time, we call for a public hearing for the 2021-22 county budget.
I believe the matter.
Y'all leave.
They go right at the home.
Y'all take care of it, I leave now.
Anyone else wishing to leave? We'll move forward with our agenda.
We have to keep that door open. Mr. Chairman, I do have a clarification, a question to ask.
Yep.
In the agenda, it makes it sound like the other zoning ordinance have to be approved along with the budget. Was that just me interpreting something? It says, attaches a copy of the budget ordinance that the board will need to adopt when approving the budget.
Budget ordinance from the zoning ordinance, the
Yeah,
planning
the zoning,
zoning,
the zoning.
those are apples and oranges, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. All right. So, the code can continue on with the proposed 2021. We've heard a number of member of the public speak on our county budget earlier. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on the public hearing on the budget this time? Mr. Gibbs?
Yes, I guess that I failed to say that after though I think raise is good, progression is always good. But in a time like this, when you have no transparency, where everyone, obviously, whether your arms are folded, your minds are closed, whatever you're doing, we know that citizens are not happy. We know that. We know that the sheriff's department is hiding something. But yet, we're gonna give them a raise. They've already, as the young lady alluded to, had a paid vacation where they were told to get out of town for a while, on us. And now we're gonna give them a raise. It's almost like we're willing, or you all are willing, to pay them for what they've done. This is not fair. Let our budget reflect that you're trying to correct things. You know, let it be. Why pay people for wrongdoing? If you're gonna give a raise and I don't know how the money goes across that, what about that police department that's out there every day making sure we're staying safe? What about them? Like I say, I don't know how the money goes, what way you spend it. I know when you live in the city, you have to pay city and county. But I'm just saying, and I'm asking you all, do the right thing. The main thing is, don't hide from us. Do I look like I was gonna come in here and hurt anybody? I'm appalled. If you call me to meet with you, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I was reared that way. No, I'm not afraid of any man or woman. But when I have people out of just because I am black, and that has got to be the only reason that you refuse to, to come out and meet, you try to talk, you try to call, nobody will answer. Like I say, it's not in everybody. And I repeat this, it's not in everybody. I could tell out there during the time of campaign that there are some people that are just not going to speak up. They're just not going to do it. But I'm asking you all as a whole, rethink what you're doing. Think about it if this were your child. Think about it. If this were your family member.
Kids, we're talking about the budget and the public hearing.
And I'm talking about the budget. You're talking about now taking our tax dollars, give them to the people who unjustly killed a citizen. Does that clear it up in it all for what I'm saying? That's why I say it's with the budget. Please don't give them from our budget. Please do not give them a bonus for what they did. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak on the budget?
You got my name, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm here.
Balance.
Sir?
I just give it to the clerk, Billy Balance.
I do believe the budget should be passed. And I don't mean to start an argument with any of you people in here. I don't want to start an argument. But the county residents need protection as well. We cannot punish the entire sheriff's department for what a few may have done or may not have done. That would be just as if punishing Mr. Perry for something his child may have went out and done unbeknownst to him. Mr. Perry is going to get the blunt of the force for it. That's not the way the justice system is. That's not the way we pay taxes for you to be. Whether Tommy Wooten, if they think Tommy Wooten, or if anybody thinks Tommy Wooten should be out, the next election is 2024, or 2022 for Tommy Wooten. We'll get him out at that time, if that's what you feel. And if you feel that somebody should be in here that you want, then he can come in, or he or she, or whichever, and do what needs to be done in their perspective to align the sheriff's department with whatever the voters say. But as it stands at this moment, Mr. Wooten won this election fair and square by many, many votes, and you can't blame the whole department. You can't take the whole department. You can't even take you guys sitting up here. You can't be to blame for what happened out there on the streets. You're not to blame. If they won't, let other people's investigate. Get your own investigators. Investigate whatever needs to be done. Keep the budget as it is. I need protection in the county. I need to see a deputy come by. He needs to have the monies to be appropriated to protect me. The city's got the city cops. They passed it. I didn't mean cops. I'm sorry. That was rude. They have the city police department. They have protection. They pass budgets for their department. And one more thing I do want to say real quick. If they keep saying, others keep saying up here, that the police is the ones out there, no, sir. I see just as many sheriff's deputies and just what Dobson and others as I do from other counties as well as our county on them streets, following the protesters, which I agree with each and every one of you protesters. It has been pleasant. It has not been a fight. It has been a good. You stand for your rights. That is your right. That's your right. But my right is to be protected in this county too. So I'm standing for Wooten's budget. No matter if it's Wooten or the man that ran against him. I'm standing for the budget. If we start cutting law enforcement, then we increase crime. Do you understand that? I know you understand that. You're educated. I'm the uneducated one up here. So I know what I'm saying. You will increase crime if you start cutting budgets. Therefore, you will increase it if you... Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank y'all.
Christina, for the record, your name and address.
Excuse me.
Christina Williams, 3611 Union Street here in Elizabeth City. I just wanted to say, since all the commissioners had to sit here and be berated for the last hour, that I appreciate your strong leadership during this last couple of months, and in particular you, Mr. Griffin. I think you did a fantastic job supporting our sheriff. And I do not want to see our police defunded. I believe that Tommy Wooten is not to blame for any of this. I believe that he needs that money in the budget to correct these problems, so please consider not defunding Tommy Wooten's budget. And again, I appreciate all of your performances this last few months.
Kirk?
My question would be, and to comment on the public budget, is that without the last couple of meetings that have been by Zoom and out of not in person, the budget, we would ask to find out the breakdown of what was the increase of the sheriff's department. What was the cause from it to go from a $4.3 million to approximately 4.6? So that way, the public will be able to know what was the asking increase, and to make sure, because I am a resident of Pasquotank County, and yes, my parents do like to feel safe, but at the end of the day, we want to see, we would ask what was the breakdown of the, from 2019, 2020 budgets for the 2020-21 budget. So that would be the increase on what there. Because of this is the first public meeting, I'm not technologically savvy, so I was unable to watch the Zoom meetings and participate or to get the comments emailed. So this is the first time, and so I know that you have to have the budget passed by the 30th. And so that's the reason why these questions would be coming up at this time, to make sure that we know exactly what the increases would be, and to also look at the other proposed increases, so that we would have an exact, to know what was it increasing from salary or gas or things of that nature. So that's what I would like to ask the commissioners to address during their, once the meeting is closed, so that way we'll have an exact of what their funds went for.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak on the Pasquotank County 2021-22 budget? This time we'll close the public hearing for this time on the proposed 21-22 county budget. Sparty, would you like to present? Just a matter of vote, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, you've heard the concerns tonight about the sheriff's part of the budget. Also, we've had meetings and discussed the budget that's being presented tonight.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just, I know we don't typically respond, but Kirk's got a valid point since we have it on record. I think Sherry's prepared to show the difference if it would be the pleasure of the other commissioners.
Is there any objection to that, for that clarification for,
Just some of the increases, because I don't have all the detail in front of me. But on the salaries, we're adding 2 positions for courthouse security for the courtrooms. So that's some of the increase. Also, our separation allowance, which were mandated by state statute, that's part of the increase. That's about $12,000 to $15,000. There is a 2% COLA there for all county employees, so that's part of the increase also. Health insurance increased a little bit. We also had the health insurance for retirees has increased also. And that's where the major increases are. We actually cut capital 50,000.
hope that helps you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Sherry. All right. At this time, we need a motion to approve the 21-22 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the budget ordinance as presented in the agenda packet.
Okay.
Cover everything we need for the budget.
All right, we need a second for that.
I second.
Second from Jonathan Meeks. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Budget passes for 2021-22. At this time, we have Shelley Cox for some text amendments to our ordinance. And Shelley, we just take one at a time, is that right?
Sure, yes.
Very good. So we'll call for public hearing on ZTA 21-01, proposed revisions and amendments to the Pasquotank County Zoning Ordinance bringing into compliance with Chapter 16D of the NC statutes and updating of the zoning table of permitted uses as appropriate. The planning board reviewed the request on June 10th, 2021 and recommended approval. We do have an attached line. If you would, please.
Yes. Chapter 160D of the NC General Statutes was adopted by the legislature to combine enabling legislation for planning and inspections for both cities and counties into one section of the statutes. Most of the proposed changes to our ordinances are required by the Chapter 160D changes. The changes that are required by the statute are highlighted in red text in your binders tonight. Changes that are not required by the state statutes that are being proposed by staff are in blue text. The statute does not allow for conditional use permits to be used in the community. So that's one of the big changes that we had to make to the ordinance. So now what we're proposing, instead of a conditional use permit, something that would go to the Board of Commissioners would be a major special use permit. Basically, the same uses that required a conditional use permit previously would now require that major special use permit by the Board of Commissioners. So the process is going to be the same, it's just the name changes. Regular special use permits or standard special use permits that have been used in the past and approved by the Board of Adjustment under our proposed changes would now be proposed or approved by the Planning Board. And that's one of the big changes that staff is presenting. So we are recommending at this time that the Board of Adjustment be dissolved as it stands now, a standalone board, and the Planning Board assume those responsibilities. Right now, the Board of Adjustment is not meeting very frequently at all. We meet maybe once or twice a year at most. Most of the applications the Board of Adjustment reviews are special use permits. Variances and appeals are the other two applications they hear. In the last 10 years, there's only been, I believe, 3 of those types of applications. So the Board of Adjustment, the reason why we used to have a separate, we've had a separate Board of Adjustment is because traditionally the Board of Adjustment served as a quasi-judicial board, and the proceedings they had were quasi-judicial, and then the Planning Board was more legislative. Well, what we've seen in the past 20 years is as the statutes have changed, a lot of the statutes have changed so that instead of being legislative, our decisions are becoming more and more quasi-judicial and requiring findings of fact, requiring consistency statements. So now the Planning Board has that kind of training, and they are certainly able to make those decisions and follow the procedures that are required. It's very difficult to keep a standalone board staffed when you only meet once or twice a year.
A lot of our Board of Adjustment members are older and they've been on the board for a very long time. Our chairman had been on the board for about 20 years and he finally retired last year. I have several other board members that are ready to retire as well. So I feel like having a combined planning board Board of Adjustment makes a lot of sense, and a lot of communities in North Carolina are going towards that type of structure. Excuse me, my voice is failing tonight. So the staff is also proposing, and this is not required specifically by the state statute, we are proposing to expand the table of permitted uses. Currently, the table of permitted uses is about 8 pages long, and there's a lot of updating that needs to be done to that list. There's a lot of new uses out there that, when the ordinance was originally adopted, didn't take into consideration. So we are proposing to greatly expand that use to make it easier that when somebody comes in with a particular use that they want to do, we can guide them to the appropriate location for the county to do that sort of use. So we are proposing to expand the table of permitted uses and to include the standard industrialization codes, which are SIC codes. And that's just so that if somebody has a use that isn't specifically listed in that table, we can go into the SIC codes and see what's a similar use to that and how can we fit them into the current ordinance. So that actually comes out, or is being recommended as a result of a court case that happened a few years ago. Basically, at that time, the Court of Appeals decided that we could not just say use isn't permitted anywhere. We need to allow most uses, as long as they're legal under the state statutes, we have to allow them in certain places. So I think that will help the community to understand where they can put businesses and where appropriate businesses can locate, but it also will help staff as well. And then we also are proposing to add development standard for specific uses.
That's under the same one we're talking about right now.
Yes, it's still under zoning. So we're proposing to include standards for accessory dwelling units. Right now, the ordinance only allows for an accessory dwelling unit, which is like a garage apartment, to be used for domestic employees. And then you get into, well, what if grandma wants to live up there and she's providing childcare? Is she considered a domestic employee? And then, well, you know, 5 or 10 years, grandma may move out and somebody else starts renting it. Well, I don't think that we really need to get into the details of that. I would rather see us have standards for when you can allow them. You know, minimum lot size, parking must be available, setbacks must be observed. But then we're not going to get into who's living in that accessory dwelling unit. So if they want their child to come back from college and live in it for a while until they can afford to buy a house, they can do that. You know, we're not bound by that domestic employee provision, and so that's why I've proposed that. In addition, I've also proposed development standards for private airstrips, because that's something that we've had complaints about in the past, and temporary family health care structures, which that actually is required now by the state statute. So that's not something that, I mean, I've proposed development standards, but they're consistent with the statute requirements. The planning board reviewed the proposed zoning ordinance amendments and have recommended approval. Their recommended action and consistency statement is located on page 3 of your binders.
This is under the public hearing ZTA 2101.
Yes, that's correct.
You'll do 2 more of these, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Is anyone else out here on the public to speak for ordinance change of ZTA 2101? Presented by staff. If not, I'll close the public hearing and we'll have discussion from the board. Any questions, Jonathan?
Well, I do like the idea of not dictating what the property owners and the garage setting, not speaking correct. Okay. I do like that idea because I believe in freedom. I believe that people should be able to do somewhat what they want with their property. I really believe in that, and that's a good idea. I'll support that.
Okay, Barry?
Forgive me, how much is 43,000 square feet? I can't
It's
remember what an acre
under
is.
an acre. 43,000.
Just under an acre,
Yes,
right?
43,560 square feet is an acre.
Gotcha.
Our minimum lot size in the county is 43,000
Cool.
square feet.
Gotcha. That's all.
Any questions? Sean?
Look, I won't say that you ruined my weekend, and part of it was my fault because I misread the whole agenda and thought we had to approve these and be ready to talk about them for the budget stuff. But I did read through them. You addressed a lot of my questions in your intro, and as I was reading, then it came back that you did give us a heads up that all these changes were mandated by the state, or a lot of them were. So I don't have anything else. I know you spent a lot of time on this.
Mr. Perry? Charles? Attorney, you have any comments?
Just a couple. This is probably the biggest, and just by way of review, I know Shelley gave a lot of this, this is probably the biggest change in our zoning laws in 50 or 60 years to combine the city and the county. There'll be some learning curves. This has been in the works for years. Shelley's spent a tremendous amount of time on it, and I do want to add one thing. We have to adopt a consistency statement. I got thinking about this because that land case, so when we do the consistency statement, I would say to make it in compliance with the current statutes, case law, and other law. So we've got some cases out there. It's really restrictive being a local government. Sometimes people come into what we can and can't do. So that's about it.
So Mike, that amendment, that would come in all three of these zoning texts, or just be in the first
I think 2 and 3 are just by statute. They're strictly 160D. I think just the first one, yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right.
For clarity on this, Mr. Chairman, I know, Shelley, you were asking about the Board of Adjustments change. That would probably have to be a separate vote. But are you asking for that now?
Yes, I'm asking for that now. It would not have to be a separate vote because that would be
So we can make it part of item B?
adopted as part of the ordinance change, yeah.
Okay, so I'm prepared for a motion, then, Mr. Chair.
All right. Barry, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, make a motion to accept the revisions and amendments to Pasquotank County zoning ordinance with the addition of dissolving the Board of Adjustments.
As well as the text amendment.
And Commissioner Over, you are adopting the consistency statement the planning board recommended with those
That's right.
couple of changes? Okay. That's reasonable and consistent, and it's in page 3 of your book Shelley gave you, just the consistency.
Sean, where is that at?
Page 3.
Page 3. If you say yes, there, it's good, it's good. See?
Okay. I'm just trying to stay consistent with this, with our staff's recommendation. So we have a motion. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Second from Sean. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. At this time, we'll call for public hearing on STA 2101. This is the proposed text amendment to the Board of Pasquotank County subdivision ordinance for the purpose of bringing the ordinance into compliance with Chapter 160D of NC state statutes. The planning board reviewed this request on June 10th, 2021, and recommended approval. It is in our bond of Phoenix Highway. Okay, Shelley?
So this is a really simple one. The only thing that's we're proposing changing at this point in time with the subdivision regulations is the chapter 160D references. So everything else will stay the same. There are no substantive changes. It's just the statutory reference for change.
All right, Jonathan? Any questions?
Can you elaborate on that?
So, if you go to the section of the binder that is the subdivision changes, the only thing that we're gonna change is what's in red, and that's just the chapter references for the statute. So we're not changing any subdivision rules.
Okay. Just 160D, change the place of 153A.
Terry, any questions?
No.
Very good. Sean?
No, I'll take the simple one and make the motion.
Terry? Paul? Mike, any additions to this?
Same thing, whoever makes a motion, Mr. Levin, you are adopting the consistency statement of the planning board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the Pasquotank County.
Close the public hearing.
Okay.
Close the public hearing at this time. All right, go ahead, Sean.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the approval of the proposed amendment to the Pasquotank County subdivision ordinance as recommended by staff. This amendment is consistent with Pasquotank County, Elizabeth City 2004 Advanced Core Land Use Plan. In addition, the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because the text will bring the county subdivision ordinance into compliance with current NC general statutes and applicable case law.
We have a motion from Sean, and a second. Sean, Mr. Perry seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Call for public hearing on FDOA 2101, FDOA 2021 is proposed text amendment for Pasquotank County flood damage prevention ordinance for the purpose of bringing the ordinance into compliance with 160D of the North Carolina statutes. The planning board reviewed this request on June 10th, 2021, and recommended approval. So a reminder, Shelley, would you?
Again, this is a really easy one. The only thing that we're proposing to change is the statute reference from 153A to chapter 160D.
All right. Anyone from the public want to speak on this? Just a text on. If none, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussions? Jonathan?
Nothing.
Barry?
Nothing.
Sean? Mr. Perry? Charles? Mike, any?
No, sir.
Except for the consistency statement?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. All right, so this time we'll need a motion to adopt.
Motion to approve of the proposed amendment to Pasquotank County flood damage prevention ordinance is recommended by staff. This amendment is consistent with Pasquotank County Live City 2004 Advanced Core Land Use Plan. I'm not this smart, at least means I'm reading it. In addition, the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because the text will bring the county's flood damage prevention ordinance into compliance with the current applied general statutes. So it's a mouthful.
We have a motion, and a second from Charles. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Old business consideration of appointments and board committees.
We do not have anything,
So follow up.
yeah, actually we have this one, sorry. Last meeting, the appointments committee recommended appointment of Will Araza, sorry if I mispronounced that. The Tourism Development Authority replaced Arthur McPherson. This is the one that had the layover for 2 weeks, correct, Lynn? And so we just need final approval tonight. Can I make that in motion?
Okay, we have a motion from Barry, a second from Mr. Perry. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. At this time, we have a consent agenda, items A through 7, A through I. Mr. Jordan presented that earlier for the amendments.
Make a motion to approve.
Hold on a second. I'll read it right quick. Approval of the minutes of June 7th, 2021 Commissioner meeting. Adoption, the order directing the tax administrator to collect taxes for 2021-2022 fiscal year. Approval of tax releases and refunds. 7
Budget amendment.
D is budget amendments. 7E is approval of request of occupancy tax. 7F, approval of Pasquotank Emergency Medical Services contract. 7G, is that right? Approval of the lobbyist contract, 2 years. 7H, approval of rate reduction, 2009 water bonds. That items for consent agenda. We have a motion.
We've got I for hiring McGill and Associates.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my thing. Okay, yeah, okay, you had it as a 7. Sorry about that. Okay, all right. You hear the all proposed consent agenda, we need a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, items A through I.
Okay? There's a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Very good. Voting delegate for the NCACC conference. We have a number of members going this year, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. George going, Mr. Perry's going, Sean, you going?
I am going.
Okay, anybody else going to that? Will be well represented.
I'm trying.
You are? Okay. That is on August 14th. Yeah, 12th through the 14th, but the voting session, the business session for the voting delegate is on the 14th at 12:45.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
seeing as our vice chairman's going, I'd make a motion for Mr. Jordan to be our voting delegate.
I'll second the motion. Okay, we have a motion. We also will need to have an alternate too. So
I'll make a motion that.
Sean will be the alternate also?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. So Sean, will you accept that as part of your motion?
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
All right, so we have a motion for Charles to be the voting delegate with Mr. Perry added in for Sean to be the alternative voting delegate. this time we'll need a motion to vote. Well, motion and then second vote.
I make a motion.
Jonathan makes the motion to accept that recommendation. We need a second. Second from Mr. Perry. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Here we go. Through our agenda. All right, county manager's report.
No additional report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. County attorney's report.
Nothing further.
Very good. Internal and external committee reports and proposals. Jonathan, sort us out.
The only committee meeting I had was today with the Utilities Committee. Look forward to seeing the results of this study that we just voted on with Miguel. I guess new land acquisition, it looks like it probably will happen in October, is that correct? So that's all I have.
Okay.
Likewise, all I had, Mr. Chairman, was, of course, we attended Chamber of Commerce banquet. That was good to kind of gather together again in a room to see a bunch of faces we haven't seen in a year or so. And I had the Tourism Authority Finance Committee meeting last Thursday before our board meeting this week. That's all I have.
Okay. Sean?
So I haven't had many committee meetings since we last met, but I did attend the executive committee for the chamber who, we were putting together the final plans for the award and the annual dinner. I hated that I couldn't make that event. I'm looking forward to that getting back on its normal schedule, but last week was my church's vacation Bible school, and that's something that I also do every year, and so the timing of the rescheduled dinner didn't mesh well with that, but we did have 6 or 7 young people make commitments last week, so those were prayers answered. In addition to that, I've had several discussions with some community members, some city council members about trying to begin talks to get the city and the county speaking together openly, have an open meeting. I know we've got some things to work through on that, but I'll continue to push those talks to actually happen. I was impressed by the speakers tonight. A lot of them seemed like really good people with good comments and their heart in the right place. I will make a suggestion to the board and staff even that we continue to state what we have done in regards to that case and the actions that we've taken proactively to try to meet some of the same goals that the speakers had. In addition, I think breaking down those budget increases, that's at least helpful. Those guys made some comments that were kind of near and dear to my heart. He called them the anti-federalist papers, and I get it, that's probably the better name for them, but look, you've got no bigger ally in limited government than the man sitting before you here, especially when it comes to protection of personal liberties. And I didn't understand the logic about the no budget. I do understand the logic, but understand our position also on the budget increases for the sheriff's department. I mean, you kind of expect something to change and funding those changes. So if there are going to be any updates to training or equipment provided to the deputies, that's going to be the way it happens, by controlling the purse strings. And maybe unbeknownst to some of the folks here, is that's our only level of control with regard to the sheriff's office. He is an elected official. It's a little bit different structure than the city and their chief of police, but those differences are significant. And anyway, continue reaching out, and I'm glad to have open meetings myself. So those are all my comments.
Mr. Perry?
I sort of agree with what Sean just said. I have read that speech without thought from Confucius, the pain. speech without thought. I mean, thought without speech is vain, and speech without thought is dangerous. That's pretty much one of the sayings of Confucius. We're in a situation now that I'm not going to express about. I'm glad that everyone is concerned, and all of us are concerned about our community. But we will elaborate at the right time about what we have to say. I think sometimes you have to understand the other side, and that's all I'll say about it at this particular time. The other thing is the fact that this time, last meeting that I went to was the jail meeting. I also went to the meeting the other night where the chamber presented, and we had the health board director recognized for his participation in the coronavirus. The other thing is the jail board actually met. I was there, and they have actually allotted support to staff members that were in situations that they could not socially distance themselves. But that's the extent of my meeting for the month, and the health board will meet again sometimes this coming week, and I will make an appointment. I'll report at the next meeting.
Thank you. Charles?
I think I attended the economic board meeting, and we also had a regional library board meeting, and I had a jail board meeting, and I also attended with the other commissioners the Chamber of Commerce meeting. And I guess I'll just quickly say that I understand that the people have a right to protest, and I think that's fine. I think that as commissioners, we have to meet our responsibility of what we need to do, and we understand what we need to do. So sometimes we need to come together and understand each other. I mean, we can all have opinions about how this thing should work, but we need to understand each other and understand the responsibilities of each other. And we certainly need to love more, and that's why I mentioned in my prayer, and when we talk about love, we need to love more, and we need to be willing to understand each other.
Okay. Couple things. Last week at the EDC meeting, we've had discussions about where we are in the transitions. We received good news from Telephonics that they are expanding, and one of the contracts is here, if I'm not mistaken. I think Sean's organization is moving into another endeavor in their economic development platform.
Yep.
Which brings, I think some of those might be coming here, is that right? Or are they going to?
We do have some expansions, twofold. We are looking into an expansion into product lines that we don't normally deal with. So without going into too much detail, it does deal with renewable energy and trying to get those jobs here locally. So that's kind of exciting. And then we do have a significant contract award expected next month. So if I come in fist pumping in the air or just dragging tail because I'm so busy, that's why. I mean, I'm really kind of hoping that goes through. That's going to keep us busy for the next 3 to 5 years.
So it seems like we're still having some of the industries that are currently here, and they're moving along with their workforce and growing. Earlier today, one of the things with the Workforce Development Board and our staff at the Avon Commission is that we're still having a number of job vacancies. We're still putting people into job training programs and activities there that are significant to the growth into our community development activities. So those efforts are moving forward. You heard earlier today when we had our Avon Commission staff here and our director, the Meals on Wheels program and the agent program is continuing to grow. We did receive COVID relief monies, which gave them a boost in putting more Meals on Wheels and more care programs out there into the community. The efforts on I-87, I did receive a letter today from, from Christopher Coase, who's the principal assistant secretary. He says, thank you for your letter supporting the funding for I-87, resiliency, innovation, safety, economy, which is the future I-87 RISE project under Infrastructure Rebuilding America, discretionary grant program established in 2015. So our letter did go, all the support letters have been making it that way, so the effort is to continue to push with the U.S. Department of Transportation along with the NC Department of Transportation and our congressional delegation to keep moving that project forward, ensuring that the project starts in the Virginia area and moves through North Carolina into 60 miles, the first 60 miles from the Hampton Roads Port to Chowan County, which Chowan has, a significant piece, Pasquotank has a piece. However, we've got a couple of roadblocks, but also in that same conversation is letting those members know the impact of the Camden, growth of Camden on the north end, protecting the corridor, just like the Morgan's Corner corridor, that we're struggling with, and the accidents up there, and letting the public know what's going on with that. The other things that the airport authority is continuing to move forward. As we move forward with the airport authority, we're seeing a little bit more upsurgence with the Army using our offshore training facilities. So we're seeing a few more helicopters coming in from the federal government, which is keeping our staff busy. And the number of student pilots at Elizabeth City State continues to grow. It's moving forward. This afternoon, it was very encouraging to see David Smith present his the footprint of the Newland Waters. I think that was something Sean has been asking for, and kind of a timeline. So we could see kind of what direction we're going, when this could happen. I think there's still some legal things that we're working through, but we're at least the committee, and the committee understands the direction. The community can have an outline. Is that right, Sean?
Yeah.
Were you accepted with that?
Timeline, that's been, am I gonna be affected? Are you gonna do X and bring service to me? And when's that gonna happen? Those are a lot of questions.
Right. So the biggest hurdle today we heard of was the new pipeline with the booster pump on 17 business on the north side road. So that was pretty good. And then tomorrow, I think, Charles, you have a drainage committee meeting, which hopefully we've got some drainage issues going.
All those we can.
Right. Let it rain 3 inches and we'll figure out what's going on. So, Attorney Cox, we have a closed session tonight or not?
Yes, sir.
All right. At this time, we'll stand adjourned. Thank y'all for coming. This is